Hey, today I had the fantastic privilege of sitting down with my great friend, Mr. David Ranish, who's a professor at a community college. However, he's going to share with us what it takes to survive in this real estate world during a shift and how to open up your own brokerage. That's right. He opened up his own brokerage and is doing fantastic. You know what? Let's get straight to it right now. Let's jump. Hey, Dave, thanks so much for coming in today. It's so good to see you. Listen, what I want to do today is this. I want to give the audience some good, solid substance when it comes to real estate. Now, you've been around real estate a mighty long time, yes or no?
Absolutely, 15 years.
God damn, 15 years. And I've known you a long time, even probably longer than that.
Correct.
Yeah. So what I want to do is this. I want to start off telling the audience why you got into real estate. And beyond that, man, you went far in this real estate field, from just becoming a realtor to a broker, to an owner of your own brokerage, and beyond. And I want them to know how it works, each one of these stepping stones, why'd you do it, how it was helpful, the challenges you had, man. So let's make it crystal clear for them how this all works. So let me ask you one question to start off the bat. You come from USC, right?
Fight on.
Fight on, all right. A USC Trojan. You came out of USC and you decided to do what?
So let me take you back to when I was at USC. So while I was at USC, I saw a lot of BMWs, I saw a lot of Mercedes from the students, my classmates that were at the school with me. And I kept wondering, like, how do they get this money? And I would basically ask them, you know, how can you afford this?
So all this stuff that you saw was attractive to you?
It was.
You wanted a piece of the pie?
I'd never seen this at this time.
Okay.
Not to that extent.
Got it.
And so I asked them, you know, how can you afford this Mercedes or how can you afford this BMW? And they would say, oh, it was a gift from my parents. I said, well, lucky you.
Now we're talking about college kids here.
We were talking about college kids. So we're talking anywhere from 18 to 22-year-old range.
Got it.
And so once they said, you know, it's their parents' money, okay, well, what do your parents do? And the consistent answer was real estate. And growing up, when I was a child.
Wait, so you heard that word real estate for the first time?
Correct.
College? Holy moly.
In college,
I'm
right.
just curious, what were you going to college for? What was your major?
Business entrepreneurship.
All right, so there's some kind of relation there.
Right.
All right, so you heard the word real estate for the first time.
Correct. So I wanted to own my own business way back in high school. My first business was a flower shop with my mom. My mom ran that shop for 20 years. She's retired now. But that was the first time I understood business and that was the first time I learned business and started understanding what business is and the day in and day out stuff.
Flower shop, that's neat. All right.
When I heard real estate, I thought, really? So growing up in my household, my parents, love them to death, but we didn't really talk about finances. We didn't really talk about assets. And so it was basically just go to school, get an education, get a job, and that's it. But I always knew I wanted something more. So when I heard real estate, I thought, okay, that's interesting. Well, what exactly is real estate? Okay, of course I understand a house here, house there, buildings, but I didn't understand what real estate was. And so I started talking to some of the students, and then I would try to talk to their parents and get close to them and just find out, well, what does real estate mean and how did you do it? And some of them own apartment complexes, some of them owned a bunch of houses, some of them just owned one really big, nice house and just chilled there.
So while you're in college, all this is intriguing you. You're actually excited about this.
Correct.
Mother of mercy.
Sitting back and just kind of learning and just.
It wasn't sports, it wasn't girls, it wasn't none of that.
It was all of that, don't get me wrong.
I mean, you're in college, but at the end of the day, for your career, you're like, maybe real estate.
That was the first time it really interested me.
Got it.
And so fast forward to graduation and, well, what do you do now? Okay, great, you graduated from college, now what? So I started thinking, and one of my classmates said, well, why don't you get your real estate license? Okay, cool, how do I do that? Well, you have to go to school. So also during this time, I was getting my master's degree in management and leadership from the University of Redlands.
Wow.
So on the side, I started going to real estate school. I went to a community college and I took real estate classes. And you know, there's 3 classes that you need to take, and I just started knocking them out. And I think, well, how hard can real estate be? So
let's pump the brakes a little.
Yeah.
This is intriguing to me now. So you just finished getting your degree from USC.
Correct.
Top-notch school in the whole country, hell, in the whole world.
Right.
Now you got to go for your master's. So while you're going for your master's, you decided to get your real estate license on the side at a community college.
Correct.
What the heck, Ranish? That's pretty admirable. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just taking my classes, I knocked them out, and I signed up for the exam. I thought, well, how hard could this be? I've taken classes before, you know, I have a college degree. Real estate can't be too difficult. So I go in, I take the state exam, and guess what? just bombed it. Failed big time, miserably. Oh man, I was crushed. I mean, that really hit the ego because, I came in with a lot of ego and I was arrogant.
USC graduate.
Exactly.
And you failed the real estate exam. And
This time, I think I was 23 years old. So that's just where I was at that time. And so my dad was like, well, why don't you just take it again? But why don't you study this time? Oh, Dad, I'm fine. I got it. I just had a little hiccup. I was just a little nervous. Took it the second time. Failed again. A little bit better, but I still failed. Oh my goodness. Now I'm really questioning life, basically. I'm really questioning, is real estate really for me? Maybe I'll just go another route in business. And then again, my dad just sat down and was like, well, just study. Trust me, just study. Go take a crash course. So I looked online and where a crash course is, and this is many, many years ago. So Google was around, but Google wasn't as big as.
we're talking like early 2000s?
This would have been 2006.
Got it.
So I mean, the internet was around obviously, but we didn't have the social media, we didn't have the apps on the phone yet. So this is the whole desktop era. And so I just looked on Google and I found a place in Pasadena. Researched the costs and everything. I said, fine, I'll do it Saturday, Sunday. Oh man, that's my weekend. Again, I'm 23, 24-year-old kid at the
You don't want to spend a weekend in the classroom.
I mean, weekends are for partying, right?
Sure.
So, and hanging out
At 23,
age,
all right. I say nothing. I know nothing. Go ahead.
So I signed up for the crash course and I go there, and at first we have to take the state exam, a mock state exam. And I looked at it, I didn't know any of the questions, and I'm shaking and I'm scared. And keep in mind, it's just a prep course. This is not the real thing. And I'm starting to, again, questioning, should I really do this? Do I really want to be here? And afterwards, I said, okay, I don't care what you did on the exam, now we're going to go over the terms. The instructor said this. So the instructor went over Saturday and Sunday, just all day, just terms and concepts and concepts and concepts and concepts. And it started getting embedded in my mind. And so once I started learning the concepts, then everything else just became easy.
Got it.
So my third time, they always say third time's a charm, right? Well, in this case, it was. So I took the exam, passed it first time, bam. Now, I didn't know what else to do. And this was the old school where they would send it in the mail and they would tell you in the mail, what your score was, or that you passed. In this case, I passed. So let's say congratulations and everything. So I didn't have a plan.
Before we go any further, let's talk about the importance of that crash course. How much credit would you give that crash course on helping you pass the state exam?
On a 1 to 10, I would say a 20, at least.
So you think a crash course is highly beneficial?
Highly beneficial, and that's what I tell my students today.
Because California Realty Training actually offers an exceptional crash course for all of our students. So you're thinking that without that, you're not taking advantage of such a great opportunity to improve your knowledge in real estate?
Correct, absolutely, because you want to go and relax. I always tell my students all the time, when you go in for the state exam, make sure you eat something beforehand. Make sure you are relaxed. What does relax mean? Relax means just taking that deep breath, chill out a little bit, and read the questions. If you don't know the questions, skip it. It's okay. Just keep going, just keep going, just keep going, because you have 3 hours to take the exam. And you can always go back and you can fill out the exams. And I think that's what the prep courses do, the crash courses, whatever you want to call them. That's what they do, is to help prepare you for those moments. So while you're taking the exam, you're a little bit more relaxed. What happens when you're more relaxed? When you're more relaxed, and you can think a little clearer, a little bit better.
Nice.
And you read the questions. And so that's what really helps.
So the crash course was, without a doubt, just so we get to the bottom of this, you highly recommend it?
Highly recommend it.
Before we go on after post-license, before your career after getting a license, I want to just touch on the support you got from your dad. Mm-hmm. How important is somebody supporting you and saying you can do it?
It's vital.
Yeah?
It's extremely important. So I'm a big believer in building your dream team. So building your dream team means having a great support system. If you walk into a room and you're the smartest one in the room, if you're the richest one in the room, you need to find another room. You need to feel a little uncomfortable. You need to be comfortable being uncomfortable. So uncomfortable means pushing your limits and pushing your boundaries. So having that support system, to have someone, whether it's in your ear, whether it's over text, however it is, just someone there and saying, keep going, you got this.
And your father did that for you.
That's what he was doing.
Got it.
He wasn't a cheerleader about it. It was more, don't worry about it. Who cares if you failed? because you can always do it again.
And he was in your corner the whole time. He said, go for it, go for it.
The entire time.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah, I know your dad. Tell him I say hi, by the way.
I will.
And your mom too.
Right, my parents are both amazing.
Yeah, so let's go into post license. You got your license, 23 years old, now what?
So I was 20.
What's David Ranish thinking at 23?
I believe I was 24 at the time. And I'm thinking I'm about to make $100,000 in 3 months. You know, just the typical, you go into sales and, again, how hard could it be? That was my mentality. But I had nowhere to go. And I didn't know that you had to hang your license with an office. I was just so focused on the exam. I was still in graduate school at this time. So I went back to one of my community college instructors and I said, where should I hang my license? And they said, Century 21 is a really good company, and the broker over there will take care of you. Okay, so just because he said it, I already trusted him. I already had a relationship with them. So again, this is old school. This would have been 2007 at this point. I wrote an email, and I just introduced myself. Nothing too crazy in the email. I said, I'm interested in joining your real estate office. Attached is my resume. Look forward to hearing from you. And that was it. And a couple days later, I get a phone call from the sales manager over there. When can you come in? Okay, whatever day. So I go in there, and the broker, may rest in peace, Al Yarrow, he looked at me right in the eyes and he said, why do you want to join real estate? And I said, well, great question. I don't know. And I thought about it for a moment. And that's when I really truly realized that the great thing about real estate in general is the scheduling, the freedom of it. If you fail, it's on you. If you do well, it's on you. Of course, we just talked about support, and it's important to have support and a team around you. But at the end of the day, it comes down to you and your work ethic.
100%.
So I thought, okay, well, that's what I'm looking for. And he said, keep in mind, this is 2007. This is right when the market was crashing. I came in the perfect time of real estate. I passed my exam September of 07, and that's literally when things were up here, and they were going, whoo,
fast,
all the way down very quickly.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And so, again, I started questioning it. Well, why should I be in real estate? I could just go do something else. This is not a good time. But he asked me a question. He says, do you think people will still need to own a home? And I said, absolutely. And he goes, okay, great. Well, welcome to the team. Now go sell a house. All right, cool. I'm going to go sell a house. How do I sell a house? Where do I start?
No, at least you were excited, because a lot of new agents get their license, join a brokerage, and they're excited as hell. They want to conquer the world, right? That's,
absolutely.
That's a necessity.
Right.
Now comes to, well, what do I do?
Correct. And that was the hard part, because he told me just go and sell a house. He would have me do training with the sales manager, but the training was all scripts. Hi, how are you doing today? My name is David from Century 21. Would you like to sell your house today? Would you like to buy a house today? Oh, well, the market is good. It was just all scripted, and it was all bullshit. It was just all BS.
How do you feel about scripts?
I don't like them at all, because you have to be natural. I was doing that, and I thought there's something more. It took me 6 months to get my first deal. So within those 6 months, again, it's natural to doubt yourself. It's natural to question yourself. Again, everything was going down. Friends, family, coworkers, classmates at my graduate school. Are you crazy? Why are you in real estate? Go do something else. You can always come back to real estate. But call me hard-headed, call me ignorant. I just knew that I'm in it, and I'm all in. I'm either all in or all out.
Now, I remember that time, Ranish, because I was with you.
Correct.
We were like this
Right.
at that era, and it was a scary time. And you did pursue it, and you're like, I'm going in, I'm all in.
Right.
Why?
One day, I was in the hallway. So if you remember the old office, right, there was a hallway, and it would lead towards the front. And you and I ran into each other.
Okay.
And you said, hey, David, how you doing? I was like, well, I'm okay. I was very negative, very discouraged, because, again, the market was crashing right in front of us. And you said, what's wrong? And, you're so enthusiastic, and you're so friendly, and you're so natural about it. And I was like, well, the market sucks. And you're like, are you kidding me? The market's great. You know why the market's great? It's because buyers can get into a home right now. Before they couldn't. The buyers can get into a home. And it was just something clicked in that exact moment. And it changed my life. That just one quick little sentence that you made, that statement that you made.
Right.
And And at that point, I knew everything was going to be okay.
Sure.
This must have been maybe month 3 or 4 at this time. I don't remember exactly when it was. But I do remember you said, come to my office, let's talk. And we had one of those just sit down life talks.
Right.
And I walked out of there, just new focus, new energy, because real estate's all about energy.
Right.
If I'm not excited, how the heck is the client going to be excited?
Right.
How's the consumer going to be excited? Right? So I know I have to be excited. My energy shifted and my energy changed. A couple months later, I get a phone call from a magazine. So remember those old magazines, those old school magazines, you put some ads. I didn't even have money for it. I put an ad. I remember it cost $3,500 on money I did not have. I didn't even know how to take the phone calls. And so I remember a lady called me and she said, I'm in front of a house. Can you show me this house? Now, I would never suggest you do this in 2022 or even back then, but oh, you're in front of a house? Okay, I'll be there in 10 minutes. And I remember going to a computer as quickly as possible and looking up comps for that area. So I looked up that home in particular, and then I looked up other homes in that area. And at that time, it was like 99% bank-owned properties, so they were all vacant. You just go direct.
Right.
I didn't even call the realtor. Nowadays, of course, it's a little bit different. And so I drive over there, and I meet her, and she says, I don't like the house. But I had that list, if you remember.
Right.
And so I showed her the list. I brought it out and I said, well, which one do you like? And these were all black and white photos, you know, with the old school printers and stuff. And she's like, well, what about this house down the street? Okay, cool. We go over there. She goes, I love it. I want to buy it. Cool. Now what? I didn't know what to do. I wasn't taught contracts. I wasn't taught that you have to go speak to a lender first and get qualified, or at least ask about the financing side. Is it all cash? Do you need to get financing? And so I said, come back to my office. And she said, okay, I'll follow you. I said, okay, great. We'll do everything over there. And I'm panicking at this time because, again, I didn't have the training. And there's no disrespect to the office or anything. It's just I didn't have the proper training. So I go there. Thankfully, you were there. There was a lender there. Tony Bowers was there. I believe it was Tony. But the lender was there. And so I just said, what do I do? And you're like, well, first have them go talk to a lender and then come to my office. So she goes, talks to the lender. And you and I go in the office and you say, how much time do you think we have? I said, I don't know. And you go, I want your full attention for 10 minutes. And we went online and we filled out a contract. Okay, what's the address? What's her name? I don't even know her full name, right? So it was like literally at that point, you're like, okay, well, we'll keep this blank, but fill out her name, and this is how you do it. And that's how I learned a contract. So
I taught you a contract.
You taught me
I don't remember any of this, to be quite honest with you.
You taught me a contract. It's all in your office.
Yeah, so. I don't remember any of this, but which is good. And this goes back to my point before we go any further is the importance of having either a mentor or the right training.
Correct.
Right? How important that is. We'll get to that in a minute. Keep
Absolutely.
going. Keep going.
So thankfully, I get that offer accepted. Sweet, my first escrow. I didn't even know you had to send in a deposit at that time. Like, again, I didn't know anything. I got through that transaction. I sat down, I get my check, and I start reflecting. How do I feel right now? Well, I felt great. I felt amazing, right? But I also knew at that time, I didn't get the proper training. I didn't get the proper support. If I didn't have you, I don't know what would have happened. I feel like I would have figured it out, but how much harder it would have been.
Right. But you had this revelation at the age of 24.
Correct.
On your first deal, after your first deal.
Correct.
Got it.
And so at this time, this is when I got my teaching bug. This is when I said, I don't want anybody else to have to go through what I went through. Nobody else should have to go
Interesting.
through that time where they feel alone and they feel like they don't know who to contact and who to go to and contracts to fill out and paperwork. And you know, in transactions, there's a lot of paperwork.
Sure.
Right? But I would say the paperwork's the easy part. The hard part's getting the deal.
Right. That's my motto. Contracts, everybody knows contracts. It's getting somebody to put on the contract.
Exactly. Sure. Exactly. Filling it out, right? So that's when I got my teaching bug. Because before then, who wants to be a teacher? Who wants to do that? I don't want to do any of that stuff. You know, they don't get paid enough. I mean, I was on those vibes back then. And so that's when I got the teaching bug. And that's when I thought, well, if I can help out the next person, maybe it doesn't benefit me today, but that's how I can start giving back. Because it's all about giving back.
Right.
And it's all about helping the next person. So that's what I started doing for a couple years. 2009, fast forward, I get my broker's license.
Why did you get your broker's license?
I got my broker's license because I just wanted to have it at the time. It wasn't anything I want to open up my own business. It wasn't anything, even I thinking about a school or anything like that.
You were still young when you got your broker's license.
I would have been, let's see, 2009. It was September of 2009. So I would have been 26 at the time.
So at 26 years old, you got your broker's license with no intention on opening up your own brokerage.
None whatsoever.
Got it. Just to have it. Another what do they call it? Strap on your sleeve.
Correct.
Cool.
I just wanted it.
How important is training? How important is it to know the basics of real estate when you're getting started?
That's a great question, and it's vital. That's the lifeblood. That's the foundation. So when you build a business, I don't care what type of business it is. It could be restaurant business. It could be a barber shop. It could be a nail salon, whatever it is. You have to set the foundation. And that's what training is. Training is the foundation, because if you don't have a plan, then how can you be successful in the long run? Right. So you have to play the long game in real estate. And the long game is training, it's research, and it's a little bit of an obsession when you really break down and think about it. So when I say an obsession, sometimes we look at obsessions as a negative, right? But you should look at it as a positive in the sense of, how can I get better? What do I need to do in order to get better? So I sit down and maybe I go on YouTube, maybe I go on Google. Maybe I look at a contract just on my own for 5 minutes and I try to read it. Even if I don't understand it, that's part of your training. Then that's where the support comes in, and the support system says, okay, well, this is what this document is. This is what this document's for. You need to sign here. You don't need to sign this, but your clients need to sign this. This is why your clients need to sign this. So if they ask you, this is how you explain it to them. And that's why training is so important.
Now, typically, the brokerage would offer that to you.
Correct.
So let's make a scenario here. Let's put a case scenario. You got somebody who's brand new. They want to hang their license somewhere. They go for an interview at this brokerage, right? What type of questions should they ask the broker regarding training?
That's a phenomenal question. So can I expand on the training as well and outside of that? So I always tell people there are 3 main things that you should ask. 3 main things: training, support, and the financials. The financials would come down to your commission and then the cost of doing business there.
Good.
Let's focus on the training. The training is when I'm brand new, okay? I'm brand spanking new. It should be, how do you get your first deal? But let's expand that. It's not just getting your first deal, but we have to start somewhere, so let's get your first deal first. But how do we expand your business to be where you want to be? What are your goals? By the way, congratulations on getting your real estate license, or congratulations on thinking about getting your real estate license. Congratulations on getting an exam date or having your paperwork in for the state. You're almost there. What are your goals?
Ah, so you're thinking a business plan already.
Correct. And that's the vision, right? And you're going to tell me whatever you want to tell me.
Right.
I have a 9-to-5 job. I don't want to do that forever. I want something more, financial freedom. You're going to get a variety of different answers. Here's the thing that I personally look for. I want to know exactly why you're doing it. And
you as a broker.
As a broker, but not just money related. I want to know exactly why you're here. Family, of course, is important. I want to know things like, I want to travel the world. I want to give back, because that's really what it's all about. Money is money. I always say money is the easiest thing to get.
Right.
All of us can get money if we really, really want to. We can go borrow money if we need to.
Right.
I'm not saying it's a smart decision,
right,
but we could do that,
right?
Right? So that's where the business plan is, and that's where the training starts. Because maybe how I train you is not how I train the person that comes after you.
Good point.
Right?
Because they're different goals.
Different goals,
they might have
different
goals.
mindset.
Got it.
Different points in their life.
Different personalities.
Correct.
Got it.
So I love the one-on-one training. Group training is amazing. Don't get me wrong. I love group training. But the one-on-one is where you can really make them feel comfortable. And that's really what it's all about.
So would it be reasonable for a new agent to walk into an office and ask the broker there, what kind of training am I going to get?
Absolutely.
Is that a necessity? Is that a must?
That is an absolute must.
Boom, I love it.
Again, out of 1 to 10, that's off the charts.
Right.
It's vital, because if you don't have training, how can you be successful? If you said, David, go edit a video for me. I have no idea where to start. So how would I do it? I Google it, right? I have to go on YouTube, right? If you said, go change the oil in a car, oh yeah, I don't know how to do that. I'd have to go look it up, but that's all part of training. That's all part of the research.
Right.
And then going back to the obsession a little bit, obsession equals to research, right, into training. And so that's all part of the training aspect.
So let's fast forward to now you decide one day, I'm gonna open up my own joint. I'm gonna open up my own brokerage. I'm gonna own this damn place.
Right.
How the hell did you get there?
So, funny story. So I was married at the time. So my wife at the time, she kept asking me, why don't you just open up your own real estate office? You could do it. Why don't you just do it? You're crazy. I don't want to do that. I'm cool. You know, at this point in my life, we'll fast forward to 2013. I was making 6 figures a year. I was teaching at a community college, making very good money. I was doing, I would say about a dozen sales a year, give or take, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. I was making 6 figures. I could have coasted for the rest of my life.
You were comfortable.
Very comfortable.
All right.
You know, I'm in my 30s at this point, and so I'm good. But I was a little depressed. I knew there was something better out there for me. So I was a little depressed because I felt like I reached my limit at this point.
Damn, it seemed like you've done so much in such a short amount of time.
Correct.
USC grad, got your license, got your broker license, making deals, wheeling and dealing, and you're still not happy. All right, hey, to each his own, that's good.
I just knew I needed something
You had
more.
this internal reflecting time.
Correct.
All right.
So I remember it was a Saturday, I think it was in December, and there was football on. I love football. And I don't remember the exact reason, but no one was home. At the time, my wife and my kids, they were doing whatever they were doing, shopping or whatever. So I'm watching football. I was a little bored watching football because, you know, sometimes you just sit there and, okay, that's great. But so I remember grabbing the computer and I went on Google. And I always say Google's my best friend. I went on Google and all I did is I searched real estate offices for sale. I don't know why I did that. It's maybe an internal thing or whatever it was, intuition. I just Googled it. There was a real estate office in Laguna Beach, California. Keep in mind, I didn't even know where Laguna Beach was. I heard of it. I knew it was in California. I just didn't know where it was.
Those of you who don't know, Google it. Google Laguna Beach, California.
So
Beautiful place.
it's an amazing place. Right. So I see a listing, office for sale. It didn't have a price. It said 8 real estate agents and looking to sell it. And there was a tab, contact the person. So I just sent a really quick email. I said, I'm a real estate broker in the state of California. I'm interested in getting more information. I think I left my phone number. I must have left my phone number. So I leave my phone number, and a couple days go by, and I get a phone call. And it's the owner of this real estate office. We talk on the phone for an hour, approximately. After an hour, he said, "Are you still interested?" I said, "Absolutely." He said, "Why don't you come visit me?" Okay, yeah, I'll come visit you. I didn't realize it was 2 hours away. And so he sends me an address, and we come up with a date and time. And so I bring my wife at the time. I said, "We're going to go down to Laguna Beach." She's like, "Well, it's Laguna Beach." I said, "Well, it's a beach. We'll go and we'll hang out, and I'll take you to dinner afterwards." I didn't know it was going to be an all-day thing. So we go around lunchtime, and I go and meet with them. And the first thing he tells me is, "What do you know about Orange County?" I said, "Not much." He said, "Well, jump in my car, and I'll give you a tour of Orange County." I said, "Okay, great." So he had, going back to the cars, he had a S600 AMG Mercedes. You know, I don't know how much they are, $100,000 plus cars, right? And I'm thinking, okay, cool. And I'm starting to dig the vibe a little bit. I'm like, oh, it's really nice. It was January of 2014 at this point. So, you know, January, it's the winter time, it's cold. But there it was, I don't know, 70 degrees or whatever it was. I'm like, that's cool. He drives me around. The end of the day, he says, "What do you want to do?" And at that moment in my life, I knew I had to be down there. I knew that that was my calling. I had to do whatever I had to do to get this office. So we go a little back and forth, and we settle on 2 payments. So it was basically a deposit and then final sale. I made a lot of mistakes buying this business, which I'll get to in a minute. So we come up with a number. I send in the money through bank wire. And he says, great, now you have this real estate office. And it was a couple months in transition. There was a little bit of
So
time.
you just became an owner of your own brokerage.
Correct.
Wow, that must be exciting.
It was amazing. It was scary, but one thing I always say is it's great to be scared.
Right. But I mean, my point is you grew so much in this real estate field, man.
Right.
So from not passing your real estate exam to the third time, to getting your broker's license, to now opening up your own brokerage, becoming an owner of your own brokerage.
Right.
Kudos to you. Go ahead.
Appreciate that. It's all about perseverance, right? You just keep going. And so I buy this office, and I'm thinking, well, there's 8 realtors, so someone has to be doing something. But here are the mistakes I made. I didn't ask for tax returns. I didn't ask for financials. I didn't even ask what the realtors were doing. 3 massive mistakes that I made. Today, I'd be fine, and I know to ask those questions. Back then, I didn't know. I just assumed, well,
Now, why is it important to know this stuff?
because I needed to know what I was getting into.
So anybody who wants to buy their own brokerage and become an owner, just like you did, buying this office, there's 3 things you did not do.
Correct.
These 3 things, anybody interested should do these 3 things.
Correct.
Let's remind them they should do what?
So you want to ask these 3 things. Taxes, so you want to get the owner's tax returns. Why do you want to get the owner's tax returns? Because that's going to the government, whether it's state level, whether it's federal level. So at the end of the day, are you going to lie to the IRS?
Right.
I'm going to guess you're not.
So you want transparency with the taxes.
Transparency.
Number 2.
Absolutely. The financials. So profit and loss statements, revenue and expenses.
Sounds reasonable.
Absolutely. And then the third thing is the agent count. And more importantly than just the agent count, what are the agents doing? So what is each individual agent's production?
And that's important because you need to know the revenue of the company.
Correct.
What's coming in.
What's coming in?
Got it.
Correct. So what's going out and what's coming in at the same time? Is it worth it?
And you didn't ask any of this.
I didn't ask because I didn't know.
I had to slap you silly.
Oh man, that
But you
massive
learned.
mistakes.
But you learned.
Big learning experience.
All right.
Big learning experience.
So you got over it.
Not at first. Because what happened was I found out that there was only 2 real estate agents. At the end of the day, there's only 2 real estate agents that were actually working. So I bought this joint. I mean, it was done. The deal was done. It closed. Now I'm stuck. So, okay, I have these 2 realtors. Now what? What do I do? So I had to think outside the box. At this time, everybody was telling me, if you're not from Laguna Beach, we don't like outsiders. Don't like outsiders. Okay? Well, I was an outsider. So I kept going back to the core questions. What are the core questions? What do I need to do to be successful? And I thought, how do I get the community to trust me? How can I become part of the community? Well, what is the community like? What's Laguna Beach like? Well, they like the beach. It's right at the beach. They like great food. And they love art. Okay. Well, I like those things. So now what? I was in a shopping center. And there was about 20 businesses within this, well, shopping center, shopping unit, strip mall, whatever they're called.
Right.
And there was a bagel shop, and I was hungry. And I grew up on bagels. So I went to this bagel shop, and it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon at this time. And I didn't even care who you were. I didn't even care who was working there. I just said, hey, how's business? And they said, oh, it was great. And I said, well, I'm your neighbor, suite number 103. I said, oh, great, that's awesome. What do you do? I said, oh, it's a real estate office over there. Oh, there's a real estate office over there? It was pretty bad. And I was like, yeah, it's a real estate office right there. And they're like, okay, great. And then across the way, there was a consignment shop. And I walked in there, and I said, hey, I'm your neighbor. Right next door, there was a print place for like postcards and just print material for marketing.
Right.
Flyers. So same thing. Hey, I'm your neighbor. Right next door there was a dental office. Right next door to that was the eyeglasses.
Oh, optometrist?
Optometrist. There was an optometrist.
Yeah.
Then there was a UPS store. So I just started going around
To get to know your community.
to say I'm literally your neighbor.
Right.
Because I thought, even if they're not interested in doing anything in real estate, maybe the community would, because maybe they don't live there, but the community shops there. So if I can get the businesses to trust me, then I could start expanding out my business. So I just literally started there.
Now you were doing this as a business owner. This probably would also work as a regular realtor.
Absolutely. This is one thing.
Get to know your community. I dig that.
That's one thing I always tell real estate agents. Go to your favorite restaurant. Where's your favorite restaurant? Oh, I really like this place down the street. Go there. Not when it's busy, but go there and talk to the owner. Not right away. So, I love the food. I love coming here. That should be the first time. The second time or third time, or make them feel comfortable. Hopefully they ask you. But eventually you can ask them, do you mind if I put a flyer out here? Do you mind if I put my business cards right here? Can I put some marketing material out? Would that be okay? Is there space on the menu that I could put my information? Little things like that.
These are great tips, man.
So, and that works for dental offices, that works for your hair place, that works doctor's office, mechanic. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
So that's what I just started doing. I found out every first of the month on Tuesdays, there's an art walk. Oh, that's awesome. Well, how do I become part of the art walk?
Right.
Well, you have to have art in your office. Okay, well, how do I find art in the office? Well, I'm a teacher at the end of the day, so I just naturally gravitate towards school. So there's a local art college right there, art school, and I went over there and I just asked, is there any students that want to put their art in my office? And I'll give them all the information. We can put price tags on there. And I started with that. A couple students, hit me up. And then also, there's a lot of art galleries in the community. So I've reached out to art galleries. I would go in there as a consumer looking at art. Half the time I didn't even understand what some of the pieces meant, but I was open to learning, and I'd start talking to them, and I would say, again, I have this real estate office. Can I put some art there? And some people turn me down, some people turn me away, but that's how it's going to be in any business. Right. So fast forward to, there was this music art place that had surround sound and a piece of art. It was a really, really cool concept. And they reached out to me and they said, can you come in to our office in Lake Forest, which is just down the street about 25 minutes, something like that. And we'll give you a tour and I want to talk to you. Okay, well, I don't know what this is about, but cool, I'm going to go. Yeah. You never turn down opportunities, right? So I go over there. I find out what they're doing. It was really, really cool. So it was literally a piece of art. So a piece of art where you would hang a picture on the wall, but it had surround sound, it had Bluetooth. And you could play music on it, you could play or watch movies on it. It was really, really cool. And they said, well, could we put some of this in your office? Absolutely, when do you want to come? So it was all of those things that started to get me some traction in the community. Another thing that I did, there's a grand piano in the office. And one of the realtors asked if they could have the piano in the office. I said, absolutely. And he played the piano. So one day I went to him and I asked him, I said, how much would you charge to play piano? We throw a wine and cheese party.
Oh, nice.
And he's like, well, I'll do it for free. And he goes, I know a lot of people. I could bring pretty much everybody to Laguna. I could bring pretty much everybody to the office. I said, great, when do you want to do it? And he was like, well, let's do it on Sunday because the parking lot will be empty, late afternoon. Okay, cool. So I buy a bunch of cheese, buy a bunch of crackers, I buy some wine, and keep in mind, it's a business, right? So I wasn't exactly sure if I was able to have alcohol, private business, but I thought, well, we'll watch everybody, they're drinking and everything. So, he goes, he plays the piano, crushes it, absolutely crushes it. Well, that day, that's when people said, well, wait a minute, there's a real estate office here. Hey, this real estate office is kind of cool. Hey, the broker's kind of cool. The owner, he seems like a cool guy. Well, at least hopefully that's what I was hoping they were thinking, right?
Right.
But during this time, I was running out of money. So in business, sometimes you have to do whatever it takes to survive. So at this point, I was running out of money. Well, I can go to mom and dad, but ultimately it's up to me, right? So remember, I made a lot of mistakes when I bought this business. So as I was running out of money, I went, and I don't recommend anybody do this, but this is what I did, this is my story. I went and got personal loans. I went and I took out payday loans, and just to survive. During this time, I'm trying to recruit other real estate agents, and how I was doing it was through Indeed, ZipRecruiter, and Craigslist were the three main sources. I was also going to Broker Opens, which was every Wednesday, and I would go and I would talk to the realtors, and I wouldn't ask them, hey, come to my real estate office. It was more, hey, how's business? How do you like real estate? Or how'd you get this listing?
But you got to have other agents be attracted to you, the
Correct.
owner, right? If they're going to come to you, for you to recruit agents, they got to like the vibe that you're giving.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was trying to create. I wanted to be a real estate office that was cool. Well, what does cool mean?
Right.
Cool means great customer service, great training, and great support. And then also win-win for everybody when it came to the financials, where I can win as the owner and pay the bills and grow the business, and you as the real estate agent can win as well, because I'm not taking every little fee.
So how did you attract realtors to your office? Because eventually, I'm guessing you grew your office.
Correct.
How'd you do that?
So eventually we went from 2 realtors to 24 realtors.
Wow.
By the time we sold the office. And so, or by the time I sold the office.
Well, let's share with those who are watching who are planning on buying a brokerage and growing it. How'd you do it?
Being part of the community.
Got it.
And going out there and going to where the realtors were. So in terms of recruiting realtors, you have to find where are the real estate agents. Open houses, broker opens, which they're in every city, and I highly recommend that you go and you visit, because even if you're just a real estate agent, you say, well, I don't want to open up my own real estate office, it's really important to network. The reason why is because, let's say there's 3 offers on a property. If they know you and they like you, they will give you the opportunity. Who's they? The real estate agent will give you an opportunity and say, well, this property is $1 million. In order to get it, you have to go to 1.5. Well, that's great information for me if I'm representing the buyer. Then I can go to the buyer and I could say, buyer or buyers, this is the situation. And at that point, they could say, let's do it, or we'll pass, it's too much, or let's counter. But that's why relationships are so important.
Right. But that information is given to you because of that relationship you built.
Correct.
Which means that relationships are incredible.
They're everything.
People got to like you.
They have to like you. And more importantly than liking you, they have to feel comfortable around you.
Right.
So the first thing that you should do, real estate agent, owner, or both, make the other side feel comfortable. Whether it's a client, realtor, whatever.
You can do that being yourself.
Being yourself. And
Got
that's
it.
why being natural is so important.
Let's fast forward. You sold the company,
I sold the company.
made a good profit.
Correct.
Good. Now, you are now currently a college professor and still have your own brokerage. You just moved your brokerage. You sold and moved to a different location.
Correct.
And you have people, of course, real estate agents under you. How many do you have working for you now?
Currently, right now, we have 26.
Are you looking for more?
Absolutely.
And they can, of course, contact you if they're interested.
Absolutely.
If they dig your vibe.
Absolutely.
And Rico's digging the vibe. And you get all these realtors, that are under your umbrella. What do you expect out of them? What do you teach them?
I teach them, we talk about being themselves.
Yeah, let's get deep here. What do you expect, you as a broker owner, when you say, if you want to work for me, I expect you to, bam, what is it?
First and foremost, you have to be a good person.
All right.
Well, what does that mean?
Number one,
Right?
got to be a good person. What does that mean?
A good person means that you have to be a good representation for yourself. For yourself. Forget me. It's not about me. This is about you.
Got it.
Right? So I have to grow your business. Well, how do I grow your business? You have to be you. You have to be yourself. You have to learn how to talk to people. Well, how do you talk to someone? Well, of course, I always start by saying hello, right? But it digs deeper. Don't make it about yourself. Make it about the other side.
Fair.
Right? So that's what I mean about they have to be likable themselves.
It almost sounds obvious, but a lot of people don't know that. You have to remind them,
Right.
be nice, be yourself. It's not about you. You have to remind them it's not about you, it's about the client.
Correct. And one thing I always say is nice always wins in the long run.
Right.
Short term, anything can happen.
Sure.
But you have to be nice in the long run.
Number two, what do you want out of your realtors? What do you teach them? What do you expect out of them?
I expect them to, of course, have a good work ethic. A good work ethic is not just expecting me to do the work for you, because I can only do so much. I'm your biggest cheerleader. I'm your biggest supporter as the broker. But ultimately, you're the one that's going to have to go out and find the clients. So what I expect out of them is, one thing I always like to ask them: forget work, forget school if you're in school. What do you do for fun? Now, of course, that's a personal question, right?
Sure.
But what I'm trying to get at is, what are your interests? And of course, you're going to get a variety of answers, right? Oh, I love sports. I love going to concerts. I love hiking. So on and so forth. I don't want to hear, oh, I love making money, right? Well, of course, I do too.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But what are your interests? What do you do for fun?
Right.
What do you do when, it's a Friday, Saturday, whatever, you're off work? What do you like to do? Because the great thing about real estate is we're always working. It's a lifestyle business, and that's what a lot of people have to understand. It's a lifestyle business. With that being said, we could work and we can hang out, we could relax at the same time. Because let's just say I love sports. So let's have big games on, any sport, right? Or a big event, UFC or boxing or whatever it is. And that's what I love to do. Well, I could go somewhere and I could watch with other people. Okay, well, what does that mean? Yeah. Okay, so I watch with other people. I already have something in common with them, right? So I could talk to them about the fighter. I could talk to them about the team, right? The players, whatever it is. Same thing with hiking. Hey, Rico, have you ever been on this hike before? What can I expect on this hike? Do I need to watch out for anything? That's conversation, right? So your conversation skills need to be there.
So you got to have the people skills.
You have to have people skills.
Ifs, ands, or doubts.
Absolutely. And I'm a shy kid at the end of the day.
Right.
But you have to learn how to get out of your shell. But how you do that, the best way to do that is gravitate towards what you're already interested in.
Right. And you've grown a lot in that department, because I remember back when I first met you, you were a shy kid.
Very shy.
You were very, and I'm like, man, will you shut up already? You won't stop talking.
Right.
But that's great. That's great. In my opinion, that's a great skill to have, is to be able to have a conversation with anybody.
Correct.
And like you said, as long as you find something in common, even if it's not in common, but it's of interest, you can have a conversation, which hopefully will eventually lead back to real estate. Correct. Number 3, what's something else, one more thing, that you look for in your realtors, that you expect out of them?
They have to want it more than I want it for them.
That's pretty deep.
The drive part of it. So, again, I'm your biggest supporter. I am literally there for you. I know it's cliche to say, but I am here to help you. You can contact me anytime. If I'm teaching or I'm sleeping, that's kind of the only time you can't get a hold of me.
Right.
But you're part of my circle. We're family. With that being said, I can't want it more than you want it. You have to want it more than anything else. So it's the drive. I could train the little details of it, right? The details of the contract, the disclosure statements, maybe what to say in a text message. Here's the scenario. Okay, well, maybe try this route, maybe try that route. I could help with all that, but I can't want it more than you. I can't care more than you. Because if I care more than you, then you're not going to be successful. Unfortunately, and it's sad, and it breaks my heart as a human being. I want you to be successful as well. I want you to grow.
Right. And that's where I go with we can measure somebody's intelligence by giving them a test. We can measure somebody's ability to run fast by timing them on a run, but we can't really measure anybody's down deep desire to succeed. We can't measure their soul. Only you can, only the individual can. And I agree exactly with what you said. You got to want it a lot more than I do.
Right.
You know, I can only measure how many times you studied for the state exam. I can only measure how many times you showed up to meetings, but I don't know what's going on down deep in that soul, how bad you want this.
Exactly.
And I think that's important. And I think you understand that. And I think you teach that to your realtors, and I think you probably teach that in your class at the college.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the college, you're a professor at a college. How's that working out for you? How do you like that?
I love it. It's almost my therapy. I've been doing it for 13 years.
Wow, you've been a college professor for 13 years.
13 years.
Teaching real estate.
Real estate and business courses.
Got it.
And we get very deep in that class as well.
Yeah, I see a lot of stellar remarks about Mr. Ranish on the internet. You're a great professor, according to all the remarks I see.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you enjoy it?
I absolutely love it. Going back to making people feel comfortable, the very first day of school, The very first day of class. Now, of course, I get some repeat students. Actually, I get a lot of repeat students. But a brand new class where they don't know me and I don't know them. It goes back to I need to make them feel comfortable. And what I always do the first day is I tell them my story. I tell them I've been rich, I've been poor, and I've been everything in between. I've made a lot of mistakes, and I will probably continue making a lot of mistakes, but all we could do is grow and we can learn. And a lot of times, they tell me this, right? They'll say, I love the inspiration of your story. I love that you shared your story. Thank you for sharing your story. And that's all I'm trying to do is going back to what I said earlier is helping out the next person. I think motivation is overrated in a lot of ways. It's all about inspiration because motivation is short term. I could be motivated right now, all right, I'm gonna do this, rah, 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 but rah, rah only works so long. It's about the substance, and that's the inspiration part of it. And when it comes to teaching, real estate as well, don't get me wrong, but it's all about leaving a legacy. A legacy in the sense of making sure that you're always remembered.
Hey, Dave, I appreciate you giving the time and telling your story, man. I think it's going to motivate, inspire, and move people to that next level. Those who want to get their license and thought, I don't know if I should or not, I hope they now see that you can become a success, whether just getting your license and selling houses or becoming a broker or becoming an owner of a brokerage. Hell, maybe somebody out there watching this would want to become a teacher, an educator, because you, man. So let's do this. Let's leave them your contact information, so if they have any questions for you, or they want to reach out to you, regarding classes or maybe joining your brokerage, where can they find you?
You can contact me on my Instagram. So it's just my name, @DavidRanish. So my last name is a little bit difficult to spell, Ranish. Okay. You can email me, davidranish, ranish@gmail.com. And my phone number is 949-572-7743.
Hey, David Ranish, thanks for coming. We appreciate your time. We want to make sure our viewership out there gets the best of the best, and I believe you are the best of the best when it comes to real estate. Everybody out there, we'll see you next week.